All right. I remember when we were in Farmington, New Mexico, ministering in a church down there, and we would always go and meet with the leaders first, and so we're meeting with these leaders. It's funny because this is a church, and there's leaders. Now, if you can only finish, I wasn't going to share this, but if you can just imagine this. So we're going just to talk to the leaders. The pastor was out of town, but we're going to talk to the leaders, and we're going to worship, and we're going to pray for them. We started praying, and the presence of the Lord that was on us, all of a sudden this lady hit the floor and started slithering around like a snake. We had to go and do a deliverance on her right there, and she's a leader in the church. So anyway, we're worshiping the Lord, and this is all leaders, and all of a sudden the Lord gave me, I believe, some counsel. He told me to do something. And I'm thinking, well, no, Lord, these are all leaders. And I'm, in my mind, I wasn't saying it, but I'm thinking, Lord, you sure is that you? Because, these are leaders. And he was giving me an assignment. I said, okay, Lord, well, if that's what you really want me to do, then have someone stop the worship. Man, wouldn't you know it? It was the worship leader that stopped the worship and said, someone's got a word from the Lord. I mean, come on, Lord. So now, hey, I said it. Now I got to do it. So it was all about, I don't have time to go into this long, the message that I shared with them, but it was about when King David was running from kings. He was anointed king. He just wasn't king yet. He was with his mighty men, and they were hiding out in a cave, and Saul was chasing him down. And then Saul went in to relieve himself, and the mighty men would think, man, God has delivered him into your hands. And David said, I will not come against God's anointed. Even though he's persecuting me and chasing me down, and I've done nothing wrong, but I know that my God has anointed him to be king, and I will not come against. And he told his mighty men that. Now, those guys were pretty rough characters. But there was an anointing on David, and he knew what the Lord wanted. So anyway, I shared that word, and then we didn't know really what it was for at the time, and because these are all leaders. And then we left, but the next morning we came back and we found out what it was about. The pastor who had been out of town with his wife because they were praying and fasting, and they were so grieved because 5 couples had been coming against them. 5 couples had been giving them ultimatums. If you don't do this, then we're gonna this, and all those. And they were tithers, and they were leaders in their church, and so they were so grieved because they loved them. And so what ends up happening, I said, well, he's going to have to they decided they're going to have to ask him to leave because you can't have a divisive spirit. The Bible's very clear. If a divisive spirit, you warn them, if they won't, give them the boot of fellowship. So, but anyway, but the point, what I'm trying to say is this. So I said, Pastor, you might want to hold off on that. And he said, why? What's going on? And he was literally tears coming down his face. This was a man of God that loved his congregation. He was a good shepherd. And so he said, why is that? I says, well, because just yesterday during worship, the Lord told me that I was to share this word, but, I told the Lord, if that's you're going to have someone stop the service. And you know how it goes. And so the story went. And so I says, but it was about coming against God's anointed. And so we're believing that word was for your leaders. And if they were in that room, they got that word. And we're believing that the might, see, that's the counsel of the Lord, the might, because of obedience, even though it was hesitant obedience. Forgive me, Lord. So, but it was released. And so just, I wanted to throw that out there to you. And so anyway, we get a call 2 weeks later. He says, thank God. He says, I just wanted to call you guys and let you guys know that all 5 of those couples got on their knees and begged. He said, begged for forgiveness. I think the Spirit of the Lord got a hold of them. See, sometimes people can go astray. Sometimes people can think one way and think they're right, and then they try to, usurp the authority of the leader that's over them. And we can't do that. We can't allow that. It happens all the time. But you know what? We got to love them and then correct them gently.